Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's nice to see some familiar faces in our audience. Welcome to the October meeting of the Zoning Preservation and Development Committee for ANC 1B. I am going to share the agenda and I'm going to get us started with roll call. I am here. I'm going to skip Commissioner Kensek because he just sent me a text. He was going to come today, but I believe that he is running a little late. Jason Bello.
Having trouble logging in. I
Here.
told him to try again.
Oh, interesting. Okay. He did just text me confirming that we're on, so hopefully he makes it on. But Karen Brueggemann. I talked with her over the weekend, so I'm expecting her to join maybe just a little bit late. Frank Chauvin.
Here.
Great. Karen Gall. I do see you, Karen, in the audience. I see you here, but if you're here, raise your hand or say so.
She's not on video.
Okay. Well,
I
I'm
think
gonna say.
she just sent a message saying she will be here momentarily. She's just getting
Oh,
home from work.
thanks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I didn't see that. Fabulous. Okay. Simon Handelman is not here. Joel Heisey.
Present.
Thank you. Nyani let me know that he was not coming today. Patrick Nelson.
Here.
Daniel Kramer let me know that he was not coming today. Alex Smith. Bruce Flippins. And then one of our new committee members, which I'll get to in a second, Devin Reed.
Present.
Awesome. And then I'll dive right into our agenda, but we start with welcome, then roll call, and then we're going to get to some new business. So very first, we are always on the lookout for new ZPD members, and I'm excited to say that we do have two new committee members, Devin Reed and Gabriel Gassman. Gabriel is traveling this week, and so he was not able to make it, but Devin, as you just heard, is here. And so I'm wondering, Devin, if you could just give a quick introduction for all of us of yourself.
Yeah, happily. Good evening, everyone. I am Devin Reed. I am a resident in 1B06, living on Chapin Street, kind of near the Streets Market, actually really nearby Christian. I have lived in the District of Columbia for about 6 years now, previously living in Capitol Hill, but I've been in 1B06 for the past 4 years at this point. A bit about me. I'm a very avid cyclist. I graduated from the University of Minnesota in 2019 with a double major in political science and urban planning, which is why I elected zoning as the committee to sign up for. Let's see here. Other things. I am currently working at Bloomberg over in Crystal City, and my primary industry is in tech. I do product management for a profession, but I'm always interested in kind of urban planning, the land use, and our built environment. Happy to answer any questions if people have them. Otherwise, it's a pleasure to meet you all, and I'm looking forward to working together.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Devin. Welcome. Just curious. What is your interest specifically here? Anything interested regarding the topic before us that we sit here once a month to review? Anything come to mind? Any top of list items that you're here to understand,
Yeah.
review?
So I can't say I'm too wowed by the 1515 massage parlor initiative, but I am very eager to learn more about the kind of DC's upcoming comprehensive plan changes, how that might impact our area, and so on and so forth. I'm also just, happy to learn more as we go and see what I can contribute on.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you. And point of order, Commissioner Kenzik is
Kenzik.
in the
Yes, I just
waiting room.
promoted. I
Yeah.
just promoted him.
Thank you.
Of course, welcome. And I have marked you as present, Commissioner Kensek. So Okay, so why don't we get started with our agenda? So I do just want to, and also, of course, welcome Devin. We're glad you're here. The first item on our new business was 1515 U Street, which is a special exemption request. We are not going to be doing that today. You may notice that this was also on the agenda for last week. The applicant has been having trouble getting the appropriate documentation in line to come to us. So we're not discussing this and it will just be on hold until further notice. But for those of you who are wondering, it is a special exemption request for a change in use specifically. But more on that when that application has been submitted by the applicant. So I'm going to move on to the item that's next on our list, which is 1815 8th Street Northwest. Let me just copy the link to the box folder for all of you who would like to see it. And I know that there are folks who are here for the applicant. So if you would be willing to raise your hand from the audience, I will promote you. Fabulous. Okay, so I just sent 2 promotion requests. So hopefully you should have both gotten those.
Hey, Christian,
Awesome.
I want to
Yes.
say, I want to check myself off as here. My Bluetooth was
Yes.
acting up.
No
Okay.
worries, Karen. Thank you. I knew you were here, and I can tell because you have that lovely avatar. But I appreciate it. Okay, so we have Mr. Kearley and Mr. Lyles who are here with us. I will turn it over to whichever of you would like to get us started on this application. So just I don't know if you've been in front of an ANC before, I'm assuming that you have, but we like to sort of start with an overview of the project, and then the committee members will have questions for you, and any information that you have that is included in both the application in the box folder, but any other supplemental information you have would be great for us to get started with. So which of you would like to share? Because I think I need to give you some extra permission.
I can share the graphics. Both of us, I think, can speak to the application, and I can give a sort of broad overview of
Great.
this project.
Sounds good. I think you should be able to share, Mr. Curley, if you would be willing to, but let me know if you don't
It
have the
says sharing is not turned on, so I sent a request.
Okay, I just allowed it. Let me
Okay,
know if that worked.
let me try again. So can everyone see my
Fabulous.
screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, so let me just give a quick overview. This project was first presented to the ANC over 2 years ago, and that was in conjunction with a BZA relief we were seeking. And the ANC supported this project. Now, the reason we're back here is because when Office of Planning supports a BZA application, the relief we were seeking, they typically will ask HPO, Historic Preservation Office, if they have any objections or comments or whatnot. It's the same organization. Office of Planning is the parent organization, and HPO works under Office of Planning. Okay, so we assume that happened back in 2023 because Office of Planning supported the relief, and this is a historic district. So, but when we applied for the building permit, Office of Planning told us, well, something slipped through the cracks. We never got HPO's blessing, and we should have, but we didn't. And so now HPO is saying we need to go to the HPRB hearing and re-present this, even though the relief was granted over 2 years ago. A little confusing, but I just want to communicate that we brought this to the ANC. The ANC supported the application. BZA supported the relief and granted the relief. And we really shouldn't be here tonight, other than the fact that that Office of Planning never crossed their T's and dotted their I's and got the HPO stamp of approval for Office of Planning's support, which they did support this in full, and BZA supported this and approved it. So everything is sort of after the fact here, but we're back here because Historic said, oh, somehow HPO never came to us 2 years ago, so now we want to go through these steps again. So now you have a little background. I see Joel here and Patrick here, and I've worked with them on a number of projects, but that's why we're back here. And it's somewhat unfortunate because we're almost ready to have the permit approved, but then Historic came in and said, well, whoa, we never approved this when we should have 2 years ago.
Just to jump in quickly, OP doesn't talk to itself. Their BZA and HPRB processes are totally separate. So just for future reference. But you've probably already figured that out.
Even Amanya Price, who we're working with at HPO on the staff, she goes, God, we should never, Office of Planning never should have been a proponent unless they had talked to us, and usually it's an automatic where they talk to us and there's not an issue, but this case they didn't talk to each other, and it's the same organization, so the same department. So
I've never had them talk to each other, so
lucky
you.
So anyways, this is a project, and you see the house. This has basically been an abandoned house for years. And Alex Lyles, who's here with us tonight, it was a family home. And so he was able to acquire the family home. And he's not looking to make this into a multifamily. It's still a single family home. These are the proposed plans. So I'll just spend a little more time on this. So the first floor is living, kitchen, dining, and there's a family room, which could be another bedroom in the rear. And then there's 3 bedrooms on the second floor. And then there's a 3rd floor with an open loft, a roof deck, and a primary bedroom in the rear. So again, it's a single family home. You see the elevations here. We do have a line of sight. It will not be visible from across the street. And you can see that in this diagram. We've actually lowered this and pushed it farther to the rear. So even if you're up and down the street, you won't see the 3rd floor addition. That is really, this is the presentation that BZA approved and ANC approved 2 years ago. So we did have ANC support. We had the relief granted, the request for relief approved by BZA. And we had done some sun studies back in February of 23 that shows a minimal additional shade at very selected times, but it was deemed to be really minimal and not much of an impact on the neighboring properties. So that was the ANC. and BZA approval back in February of 23 that we did the drawings. And now we're here 2.5 years later. And we had a permit application, which almost everything is approved except historic. And that's why we're back here. But again, it's a single family home. It's not multifamily. It's a family home that's staying in the family. Alex, can you talk about how you reached out to neighbors? I know you've, and talk about your intent of this house. And if you can fill in some of those blanks, Alex, that would be appreciated.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys so much for allowing us to be here and to make the agenda. Alexander Lyles. I purchased a property from my family, my great aunt and uncle, back in 2022. Decided on my plans. I'm looking forward to completing the project and living in this house ultimately. I've had the privilege of speaking with the neighbors at various times. I believe the neighbor to my east or my south, I'm sorry, is putting his home up for market. I have not been able to reach him. And then my neighbor to the north, who's a fellow real estate developer and real estate professional, he and I have had some correspondence over the years. And he's always been very supportive of the project. He's just hard to reach, and I haven't been able to reach him in the last 60 days or so. But I've typically maintained pretty positive communication with both of my neighbors. So they are aware of the project. They are aware of the plans. They were back then. The plans have not changed in all this time. So as of today, that's kind of where things are as far as my neighbors are concerned.
These are the plans today. They're exactly like they were. They haven't changed from the BZA application. So I just wanted to confirm with ANC that we haven't modified what was previously supported by the ANC and that was granted relief by the BZA. They're identical.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thank you both very much. And thank you for joining us. We'll get started with some committee member questions. And the first person with their hand up is Frank. So go ahead, Frank.
Yes, thank you for presenting this evening. Few questions. What can you? I'm going to ask two questions at once here. Could you recall for us or recount what the specific BZA approval that was granted? And then secondly, can you show me again the first floor and tell me how many bathrooms and altogether and bedrooms? Because it just appears to me that there is a swing space that could be a living or family room, but it could be a bedroom. It sounds like the intent might be for some type of group house, and I'm just curious if my inclination is correct here. But would like to know how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and see that first floor. And can you blow up the first floor a little so I can see it? Because it seems like I'm barely seeing it.
So
This is the first floor. Can you see that?
Yeah, yeah.
The living, kitchen, dining, there's a bathroom, and then there's a family room at the back that could be a bedroom because there is a closet and there's a bath. So that's the first floor.
And how many bedrooms and bathrooms altogether?
5
Five
Five.
bedrooms, one,
Okay.
2, 3, 4 bathrooms.
All right. So, I mean, it appears to be set up for, like a use, like a rental, like a single, one off, or what do you call it, co-housing sort of. But that's just, I guess, me concluding. Any thoughts about what you'd have to get an application? You have to apply for another BZA, or is that just a licensing for a group house or what do we call those? Boarding house?
I'm not sure, but I don't intend for this property to be a boarding house. I'll live in it. It'll be my primary residence. So
The
it'll
only
be
thing that'd
my
be allowed in RF1 would be a 2-unit flat.
I mean, the use does not seem out of line with just other standard houses we've looked at.
Well, I mean, there's quite. I've been, exposed to several projects recently right outside of our ANC that have been,
Okay.
predicated upon group housing, and so this one just sort of appears to be on the precipice of being made for group housing where every single bedroom has a bathroom, and that's just a substantial extra expense and not um, usual in single family housing. But I'm just again questioning, and I appreciate your review of this with me. And I'm sorry, did I miss the piece on the BZA that was granted? The
Yeah, I
BZA.
pulled that up right here, and the only relief that was requested was a special exception, and it was from the 10-foot rule. And if you look at it wasn't from the neighbor to the north, it was the neighbor to the south. So that was the relief, and it was not a variance, it was a special exception.
And I'm sorry, just for my edification, and I appreciate you spending a few moments here. Can you just show me again what the 10-foot rule is there, pointed out as it
Well,
applies?
here's the rear of the neighbor property right here, and you can go 10 feet past that as a matter of right. They're actually looking to extend that now. There's some talk about that, but that's a whole nother game.
Yeah.
We're going out 6 plus 13, so 19 feet. So it's approximately a 9-foot deviation.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
But that was the order. This is the actual order that BZA submitted, that the relief was granted, and that's the summary order. And that was May 3rd, 2023.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Kearley. I appreciate that. Next up is Joel.
Hi, I'll try to keep it a little more. What specifically are you asking for HPO?
Well,
What are you doing
HPO
that
is
affects that?
requiring us to go to HPRB to go to the hearing, so we're asking for support from the ANC as a.
But for what? What parts of the design are they asking to support or change? What are
Nothing
you doing?
specific. It's the overall improvements to the property they're asking for. There's no relief being asked for because the relief has already been granted.
No, yeah, but usually, I mean, they'll ask, I mean, are you replacing windows? Are you replacing front
We
doors?
are, and
fencing?
we're placing them per their specifications.
Okay, that's what I'd like to hear, because there's nothing in the thing that says what windows are you putting in. I mean, they require wooden. Here I see there's 6/6. Is that what you're going to replace them with?
Yeah, can I show you that, Joel?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's really the meat of what we're here is for the historic. It's usually mostly concerned with the front
With the
facade. The front facade.
Yeah.
You're out of the sight line, which is fine. The rear, they're very lenient on, especially on new additions. And the window layout, I actually think is not bad. I've seen some pretty horrible ones that people have gone through. But it's really the notes as what do you plan on doing on the facade? Are you doing any repointing? Are you changing the door? Are you changing any fencing? And what are the windows? If you are replacing the windows, what are you replacing them with? Those are really the pertinent things for the historic.
So when you look at the windows, we've been working with Amanya, so we've changing them to meet the specifications that she has for the windows. You can see they're 6/6. We actually moved this back slightly and lowered it, so we're even farther down, and sometimes you can see the third floor from up and down the street, but by moving it back, we're minimizing that. You can see this diagram. Here's what we're looking at from across the street on the sidewalk, and you can't see the third floor addition there.
Okay. The other question I would have is you're showing a front deck up on the roof of the second floor. Does that go
Yes.
the whole way to the front facade, or is there going to be a railing set back from the facade?
Let me show
And
you that.
where's the deck height relative to the top of that?
You can see it's set back all the way to that addition, so you won't the railing does not go higher than when you look at that sight line. Let me pull that
Okay,
up.
so in that side view, that sloped portion is just the stairway.
Yes.
Okay, and then the deck is basically from the front where the stair comes up out onto the roof back to the front of the facade.
Yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't come to the front. It doesn't come
Okay,
anywhere
because
close
that's
to the
usually,
front.
yeah, that's usually a concern about having them 2 foot, because then you see furniture and everything else, and
Yeah,
you
you
know,
can see the
so
deck is back here. The rail of the deck is right there.
okay,
It doesn't
yeah,
come
see,
past that.
yeah, see there's a dimension line there, but there's not a railing line. That's why I was
Yeah,
confused
here
on it.
the one we
There
did
it
for
shows up.
permit show this
Okay, there
that
it
was the
shows it.
concept. This is the actual what we've submitted for permit, Joel, and
Okay,
it shows the rail line there.
right. I mean, those are really the HPO questions that there are. You're back. You're not visible from the street. You're going to be replacing the windows with wooden 6/6, retaining the same door and
They're going
trim
to have
around
to
the doors.
replace the door, but it's going to be replaced to match the existing door.
Okay, and the surrounds of the door frame and everything are going to be rebuilt as is.
Yeah, we're not renovating, we're restoring the trim and all that. And I've met with Amanya, and she's going to give us, we're completely agreeable to her giving us the profiles that she wants. We're actually going to go out either this week or next week, and we're going to build a mock-up of that addition and put it in place so she can see across the street that it's not visible.
Just doing a flag test. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I suspected you were doing everything. It's just that it wasn't presented or written on any of the documentation. And that's what we're going to see. And that's kind of when you make your presentation HPRB, those are the kind of things you're going to want to point out as well.
100%, and I agree with that. And we didn't have it in the BZA, but we have it in the permit set. So I can send the ANC the revised drawings that show the rail of the deck and the limits of the deck, and that shows
if you go back to the elevation drawings, yeah. Also, I see you have notes, but I don't see any other notes in the page. Those are usually, oh, there you go. You'd usually want to call that out as like you've done there, and just another one like for the door replace in kind, facade around it, replace or repair in kind.
And you can see the
those are
rail
only
of the
comments.
deck here, Joel, right here.
Yeah.
Which is right there. It's actually lower than the front part of that stair that comes up. You don't ever see anything like this because it's a true elevation, right? But
Right.
the line of sight that the rail of the deck will be out of the line of sight. You will not see it.
That also seems high, considering you're going to be lowering, the roof, the ceiling level is lower than the current roof level.
Yeah, here's the floor right here. It's the ceiling joists.
Yeah.
But then you have to build up that roof structure because you need a continuous insulation for code. So it goes up about another 4 to 6 inches when you put all the layers of what you need on there.
Yeah, you need 2x10s plus 4 inches on the roof. It's a pain.
And
Yes,
then
I
you
know.
have sleepers for the deck on top of the insulation and the membrane. And now you're getting up towards 8 to 10 inches above the structure. So it's higher than 3 feet for sure, but it's not high. You have to be 3 feet higher than the level of the deck.
Yeah. No, I think you're good. That's fine. That's all I had.
Awesome. Thank you, Joel. Next on our list is Karen Gall.
And good evening, Mr. Curley. I my question was similar to Joel's, but I really want just I know I don't need you to go into the whole shop talk that you did with Joe because I'm not the expert that Joel is, but I am just a normal neighbor in our ANC who loves to serve, but I do need clarity. And I really would love for you to bullet point each thing that you need for us to um, ask for support for from the ANC. And I hope you can just do a nice 3 point bullet or 2 points, whichever you need, so that we can have for full clarity when we do the recommendation. Okay.
Can I
So
send you
could you
guys an
please let us
email
know
with the bullet points? Because I'd like to actually talk to Amanya because she's going to give me some specifics so I can
Um,
send you,
that
I
is
can
a
we're
give
that,
it to you
in
right now,
we're
but
in this
yeah,
we're,
I think actually, Karen, what you're asking is a really good
okay, we're in the
question.
are we going to do that this
Yes,
well,
we
okay, let me
we'll
because I
want
was
to vote
just
on this.
and I understand your earnestness.
I mean, Karen, I'd be willing to make a motion and I would
The
put in
earnestness
the
of
points.
let me I wanted
Sorry,
to.
I think you might be
Okay,
on a little
so
bit of a delay, Karen. I'm sorry.
let me get finished.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, am I delaying? I was just pausing as because you all were talking. That wasn't actually a delay. It was me pausing, waiting
Oh,
for
okay.
you all to say what you were planning on saying. My actual bullet point. I just really wanted to have a some clarity, and I heard what Joel said. I just wanted to ensure that we had each one of the bullet points that was the request for this evening, because you are here for a purpose and we want to make sure that the purpose is accomplished this evening so that we can vote upon it. So I need to hear 1, 2, 3 what it is that you need to have so that we can make a solid um
I'll
consideration.
do
Thank
that
you very
right
much.
now if
That would
that's
be
all right with
that'd be
everyone.
great, Craig.
Okay.
Because we will vote on it tonight, so if we want to have those bullets, we do
Okay.
need to have them tonight. Karen, while
The
Frank is, or I'm sorry, while Mr. Kearley is doing that, do you mind if we go on to Jason's question, and then we can sort of return to the bullet points? I will take that as a yes. Um, Jason, why don't you go ahead and ask your question, and then we can. Oh, Karen, you unmuted.
Oh, am I? Oh, you still aren't able to hear me, are you?
No, we
Okay.
can. I think you might just be on you're coming across fine. I think you might just be on a teeny bit of a delay and we keep interrupting each other and then but not at the
You
same
guys,
time
I
what
live
we're hearing.
exactly probably I live very close to the White House, so I have so much crap going on over this way.
I'm
But thank
sure.
you guys.
Okay, so why don't we move to Jason to your question, unless you don't have one anymore because I saw you put your hand down. And then Greg, we can circle back to the bullet points. That would just be helpful because this is kind of a weird little unique case where we already approved this, but we have to do it again. So I think it would just be helpful for us to be specific in our letter of support, if we write that. Oh, and Jason says no question. Fabulous. Okay, Greg, why don't you if you can, why don't you share what some of the specifics you're looking for us to weigh in on
Okay,
are?
so we would like to get support for improvements to the front facade to include replacing the windows with 6/6 double hung windows per HPO's specifications. So
Mm-hmm.
they're going to really dictate the window, but we are committed um, to doing 6/6 for the double hung. All the front door to be replaced to match existing, the historic front door, all trim and details to be approved by HPO. The third floor addition and stair to the third floor will not be visible from across the street. It's set back a distance so it's not visible. the deck railing and roof deck at the third floor will not be visible from the street.
Great. Okay, so just to reiterate, there are 5 things that I have. One is you're looking for us to support the improvements to the front facade, which includes replacing the windows with 6/6 double hung windows, replacing the front door to match the historic front
Yeah,
door.
I wouldn't say match existing because existing might be historic.
To-
Replacing the front door per specifications from HPO.
Great.
Per historic guidelines.
Per historic guidelines. That's better. Thanks, Joel.
Fabulous. Thank you as always, Joel. Then restoring all trim and details per historic guidelines.
Yes.
The support for the third floor addition and the stair to the third floor, and then also support for the deck railing and roof addition.
Yes, and those will be confirmed that they will not be visible for the street. The diagrams, we show that, but we're going to do the flag test with HPO to confirm that.
Great. Okay, so we can go into, unless Mr. Keeler, you have anything else to add.
I don't have anything else to add. I'm not the owner of the property.
Cool.
That's Alex, but he spoke to his intent and that this is a
Great.
family home that he wants to continue as a family home.
Do you have anything else that you want to add, Mr. Lyles?
No, just
Okay.
thank you guys so much.
Fabulous. Okay, so I think we can move into committee member comments. I'm going to make mine brief. I love that this is a family home that's staying in the neighborhood with a family member of the family. I just think that's really exciting. We don't get to see that really very often. So that's really nice. And I'm sorry that you have to come back to us. That seems sort of silly. I agree. But I'm glad you're here. That's the end of my comment. Is there any other committee members that would like to add a comment before we move forward with this?
Brett, can you tell me, is this on the agenda for next month? Or when is it scheduled to go in front of HPRB?
I forget they're the first or second week of the month. So it would be next month. We missed this month, so it'll be going on in November because we had to get the October hearing with
Right.
with ANC.
Just
So
checking.
we're on the November agenda.
Yeah, I'm just checking because I didn't see it on the latest one, and that the actual adjustments don't come out until the week of the meeting. So that's fine.
Yep.
Get enough time.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, fabulous. Is there a committee member who would like to make a motion? If you would be willing to
I
stop
would
sharing
like
your
to make
screen,
a
Mr.
motion.
Kearley. Okay, great. Thank you, Karen. In order to help you do this, I did write down all of the things that Mr. Kearley told us. So let me share my
Oh,
screen,
excellent.
unless you've committed them to memory.
Did you write the HPR? Did you write the HPO case number? I would need that help,
Not
but
on
I
that
have
list, but I
based
do have
on
it
what I
here.
have.
Let me go down and add it to.
Okay, if you can mention that.
Okay, so Karen, the HPA number is 25. Let me zoom in on my screen.
Okay. I can see it. I can
25
see it. I
dash.
can see it.
Okay, fabulous.
Okay, I would like to recommend that the full ANC support the HPA application number 25423 for the improvements to the front facade, which includes replacing the windows with 6/6 double hung and replacing the front door to match it being
Let me
under
interrupt you.
restoration.
Let her finish,
Yes.
Patrick. Patrick, let her finish, and then if you want to do an amendment or suggested amendment or
That's
friendly
fine.
amendment.
Yeah, why don't you continue, Karen?
Under the historic guidelines for the HPO and also under the details that the HPO is recommending for to be done. That's my only now, and of course, any friendly amendments, I'm open to hear them now. Thank you.
Awesome. Patrick, you wanted to add something.
I was just going to say just to put in the address of the location.
Oh, yes. 1815 8th Street, Northwest. Okay, Karen, I'm going to read the motion back to you. Tell me if this is what you want it to be. Motion to recommend that the full ANC support HPA 25-423 located at 1815 8th Street Northwest for the improvements to the front facade, including replacing windows with 6/6 double hung and replacing the front door per historic guidelines, and the details that HPO is recommending. I might also suggest that we add that we also
That's
call
correct.
out the addition, the third floor and roof addition, just to cover all of our bases, if that's okay with you.
I think that sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome.
With the third floor roof deck recommendations. I mean,
You
renovations.
might even say something like as approved by BZA or something, that these are it's already been approved, right? The one thing that was non-matter of right was approved by BZA. We haven't changed the drawings, they're
Yep.
identical.
Yep. Do you have the BZA case number handy by any chance? I know you sent it's in the application, but I instead of searching through it,
Yeah,
if you have it, that'd be great.
I'll give it to you right now. No,
Great.
it's 20883.
Awesome. Fabulous. Okay, so here's the full motion in front of us. Motion to recommend that the full ANC support HPA 25-423 located at 1815 8th Street Northwest for the improvements to the front facade, which includes replacing windows with 6/6 double hung and replacing the front door per historic guidelines and the details that HPO is recommending, and the third floor and roof additions as approved by the BZA in case number 20-883.
All right.
Okay, so committee members, all of you, hold on, before I ask you to vote, let me go back to the big screen. All of those who are in favor, please
Why don't you take down
raise your hand.
You need a second, Christian.
I need the what, sorry?
You didn't get a second from anyone.
Oh, aha!
Oh
my God.
Second.
Thank you, Karen.
Second.
That's so silly.
Look at
Thank
you,
Alex.
Karen, all grown up and knowing how this works.
I got too excited.
I
I'm
know.
sorry.
I got the training wheels off last week. The training wheels came off last week.
Okay. All right. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. Oh my gosh, for some reason I can't get my Word document to open back up. Give me just a second, but keep your hands up. Goodness gracious. Okay. I see we have thank you for your patience. My computer has decided to go on the fritz. I see Chauvin, Bello, Reed, Brueggemann, Gall, Pensek, Smith. Joel, you have your hand up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Am I missing anybody? No. Anyone opposed? Raise your hand, please. I see no opposed. Anyone abstaining? I see no abstaining. Anyone not voting? Just myself and Patrick. All right, it passes unanimously. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. And we'll follow up with ANC once we work with Amanya just to make sure, just to keep you guys informed that we're
Fabulous.
doing what we're communicating that we're going to do.
Awesome. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Now, quick question is, do we need to go to the full ANC or do you just take care of that?
That is a great question. Basically what I would recommend is that you join the meeting under the expectation that you likely will not have to participate in it, but there is a possibility that the commissioners will have a question that you will need to answer.
And when
Generally,
is the meeting?
That meeting, the next full ANC meeting is November. It's the first Thursday in November, which I think this month is or next month is the 4th. But I will
Okay.
follow up with you by email, Mr.
Okay.
Fields, with that
Thank
information.
you.
Yeah,
Okay. Sounds great.
fabulous.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on, the next thing on our agenda is the DC 2050 Comprehensive Plan Joint Task Force, as well as a question about ZPD's involvement in this. So I'm going to give a little bit of a background on this. This idea was, some of you might remember, this idea was suggested by Commissioner Fay at a previous ZPD meeting when when we were hearing from, he joined us to talk about the Howard University Hospital. But this was in relating to Commissioner Barrow's resolution that we discussed last month, I think. And Commissioner Fay recommended that we form a joint task force between our committee and the Economic Development Committee regarding the comprehensive plan. I think this is a good idea because the comprehensive plan is moving into some more sort of defined stages of planning. But economic development and ZPD have sort of in the comprehensive plan universe, we have somewhat overlapping interests. And of course, then also Transportation, Parks, and Public Space Committee also has some topics that they discuss that are relevant to the comp plan as well. So the purpose of the task force, I'm working with Commissioner Fay on developing that, but generally speaking, it would be to sort of like provide some guidance to the ANC and committees about how the ANC will approach the comprehensive plan moving forward and sort of what the role of each committee might be and how the ANC might want to be engaging with the comprehensive planning process. So that really, in my view, although this is something that I'll have to work with Commissioner Fay on, is the idea is that we would be basically setting up a sort of more efficient way for the ANC to engage with the various topics of the comprehensive plan. In addition to that, I just think it would be really helpful in advance of that conversation if you all think that there are particular ways that you'd like to see the ZPD plug into the comprehensive planning process. Obviously, the comprehensive plan is quite extensive and covers a lot of different things. So not everything that the comprehensive plan touches on will include things related to zoning, preservation, or development. But obviously those three things are components of it. So if there's anything specific that you think that that ZPD should take an interest in, or that you would like for the ZPD to take an interest in as the comp plan process gets more specific, that would be great for me to know now so that we can work to incorporate that into the task force's sort of structure. Frank, you're on mute.
Yes, Christian, I think I'd like to add this in the mix, knowing that a set of people in the community and several folks here have been, involved and in discussions with Office of Planning and just generally review of the arts overlay. When I joined the committee 6 years ago,
Yeah.
that's why I joined. So Devin, that's sort of why I asked. I joined 6 years ago because I feel the arts overlay has not been properly administered. There's 34 by right uses in the arts overlay. Only one of them is eating and drinking. And unfortunately, it's 1989, so 36 years ago when the arts overlay was first instituted, I was supposed to be an arts district, but we've, failed in that respect. We've just lost the Source Theater at the 1800 block of T Street, or excuse me, 14th Street. Nobody's been looking after the arts. It's the conversation's been dead for a decade or longer. Maybe I'm stepping my bounds or overstepping my boundary of thinking on this, but I haven't seen anybody step up in this community, and I've been involved at least 6 years. Talking about arts and how to support it and how to ensure that zoning amends for it and the tax code supports it and that we have an arts overlay. And so I don't think we have an arts overlay anymore. I think basically it's a failed concept, and I'd like to sort of review that. But particularly is important. One of the 36 uses is eating, drinking. And it's been lobbed into this catch-all, eating, drinking. However, for those new here, I've been sort of dealing with this fact that eating and drinking are two different concepts. And one has adverse impacts deeply from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. All right. That's the drinking. All right. And if you're calling eating, drinking the same, I think you're misinformed. I think you're outdated. And I think there should have been some changes to the code decades ago. And so when there's 34 by right uses in the arts overlay, and basically you have one half of a use, which not one half of a use, less 1/64th of a use, because the eating drinking's 1/34th of a use. And if you're only focusing on drinking from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., then we have a failure because we have a monoculture that pushes everything else out and jacks up rents because nobody else can afford what bars pay, because when you sell alcohol at 80% profit, guess where your money's coming from? Guess where all the money's coming from? So anyway, my point, arts overlay, the 34 by right uses, but particularly one piece, which is the 50% cap of on 14th and U Street facing properties. 30 let's see, so 36 years ago, there was no cap. 35 years ago, there was a 25% cap on all U Street facing lots and all 14th Street facing lots. And the cap was only the second floor. Okay, so sorry, that's backwards. The cap was for first floor use. You can use the second floor, the third floor, and the fourth floor, and the fifth floor, however you like. So, but in the, what do you call that, omniscience of the drafters, they thought, well, as long as we allow the first floor to be used for other uses, then we're creating a balance. Well, that hasn't been what's happened. The cap got moved 15 years later to 50%. Okay, so second floor use on U Street facing lots and 14th Street facing lots are now 50%. And so my contention is that you can't just look at the first floor use and say that is what is important to keep engaged for other uses, because if you have the whole second floor being used for just at 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., well, you're not looking at overall balance. And if folks that live within a few blocks of the corridor know that our balance is out of kilt, and it's hard to do any other kind of business and commerce in this corridor lately, which affects heavily the residential juxtaposed communities such as North Shaw and Westminster, where I live, and of course off of 14th T and all the 1400, 1500, 1300 blocks of T and U and Q. So I'd like to look at that specifically, but then one last piece. As I've conveyed several times, and sorry if I'm repeating or speaking fast, this has been something I've been looking at for 6 years and talking about a million times and raising in different forums. But the 50% cap that now is code on U Street and 14th Street facing lots does not apply to the 1900 block of 9th Street. All right. And so that's why my community over 3 years raised $26,000 privately to help institute a moratorium, because the night use there's no cap in the 1900 block of 9th Street. So you could have 100% use of
Mm.
10 p.m. to 4 a.m., which is basically what they were going for, and why we asked for a moratorium to stop alcohol licensing in that block, because it's not part of the 50% cap. And at a minimum, I'd ask that some discussion go into setting a cap. It would be a text amendment for that block, setting a cap in this block to the 50% cap, even though I believe the cap overall should be reconstituted so it's all floors and not just that second floor, and further reviewed. So thank you for
Awesome.
your time on that.
Thanks, Frank. I had a suspicion that this would be what you would bring up. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. And I know that it's definitely been something that you've talked about a lot over the even the time that I've been on the committee. Anyone else have something that they would like to surface at the moment? Yes, Karen. Oh, what, Karen, why don't you go first? Because I saw your hand first, and then Devin will go to you.
Yeah, I know I'm a new member and I really dropped off for a while, and Christian very thankfully pulled me back in because I do want to be here and I'm really looking forward to continuing to get to know you all. Yeah, I don't have deep thoughts. I totally hear Frank on like this. I agree actually with a lot of what he's saying. I think after we talked the other day, Christian, like I was talking with some friends about the U Street corridor, and like I think it does feel very palpable that like there aren't really a lot of ways to spend time there during the day in some regards. Like it's a lot of nightlife and like thinking about, like Adams Morgan, like 18th Street or Mount Pleasant. And it's kind of just like the mixed use functionality kind of brings people there for all kinds of different reasons at all times of day. And so like I understand, I'm definitely just curious to plug in and like understand how like the zoning plays into that and things that could be changed or improved just to make it kind of have more of a community feel, while also realizing that like the nightlife. I don't know. I spent a lot of my 20s going out on U Street and being one of those drunk kids that was probably really annoying at 2 a.m. Like, and it's not, I don't do that anymore, but it's like that nightlife was fun and it like drew a lot of people, like young people together. And I don't know. So it's like, it's a balance of like that type of vibrancy.
Totally.
Can be annoying, also like is a huge draw for young people and is important for them in some ways. And yeah, all about balance, but definitely curious to know like how to plug into this process and looking forward to getting engaged.
Cool. Thanks, Karen. Devin.
Yeah, thank you. And sorry for interrupting earlier. So I definitely want to second or third the perspective on the arts in our district or in DC in general. I have a few other ones that I don't have super deep thoughts about, but I'm very curious to follow along with. The first on the list is kind of traffic calming. What is the comp plan doing to make the roads in our city a little more sane? I feel that since COVID, we've definitely seen an uptick in more, let's say, rash driving habits. I'm curious to see what the city would be doing about instituting bump outs or other calming measures that are frequently used in urban planning. Next one on the list would be, and this is really pie in the sky given that the government's currently shut down, what is the city thinking about doing with working with the National Park Service on spaces that they run or manage? I live right down the street from Malcolm X Park. There are certainly aspects of that could be dramatically improved. And I know that the budget from the National Park Service is not always there. I'd be curious if the city's doing any thinking around that. Then lastly, I'm curious, this one's, I guess, awfully specific. I'm curious if there's going to be a new take in the city on rezoning for single stairwell multifamily housing. Right now, as I understand it, that is not allowed in the District of Columbia, but it's become a very popular trend, especially in the Pacific Northwest, for enabling single stairwell multi-unit housing to be built. And those are, yeah, that's kind of a quick list of things.
Great. Thank you, Devin. Definitely worthy of a joint task force with at least Transportation, Parks, and Public Spaces, for sure, because I know they're interested in Malcolm X specifically. Frank, you have your hand up.
Yes, I'd like to add in that an assessment of undervalued zoning lots that could be enhanced or zoning upgraded or zoning upzone per se, when increased from perhaps a 2-floor by right to a 4, 5, 6, 7 by right use, especially for residential opportunities, because density is important to the prospects of U Street being so
Yep.
central. And so, really, an evaluation of opportunities for upzoning in off, within a few blocks of the corridor or further, and I think that was my second one. But actually, I have a third one, and actually, no, one more. And this has just been something I've been talking to some other colleagues in the neighborhood about. But that, because of the failure of the arts overlay, and it's failed. Nobody's been watching it. The city created it, and I'm sorry for those folks that are new. You haven't heard me say this a million times, but 36 years ago they created this. Then they walked away and said, "Oh, there you go," and they've gone off. And I'll repeat, this is my sort of repetition. They've gone off to all the other shiny objects and forgot about us, and they failed us. They failed to give us what we need: proper cleaning, proper security, proper policing, proper nightlife management. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. It all sits on our back as volunteers, and I just can't forgive the city enough for their negligence to our community. And so that said, arts overlay having been failed, what can we preserve of it, as Devin sort of was interested in? But also, maybe we need to reevaluate. Is there opportunity for how much arts, because we failed to do it consistently or in a systematic and community organized way, because it was dependent, it was in our lap, and we didn't stand up to do what was given to us to do because the city didn't manage it. So my perspective is that potentially we create a new district and we call it, potentially, and this is a big pie in the sky thing, but I've been talking to people, that we create the first opportunity zone for employee-owned businesses. So if 51% of a ownership value, and we value that as living in the district and 51% ownership, so it's creating a new economy, but we're creating a trial project here in Mid City and off of U Street, because the city doesn't do well. As I've iterated, they do well all the new shiny things. They'll go give them tax credits for yin yang 30 years, pay $1 a year for the money for the land they bought at the wharf. Just all these giveaways. They haven't given us a giveaway, and I'm not saying I'm not asking for it, or I am asking for it, but let's look at employee ownership and create the best place in the city, in maybe the East Coast, for employee ownership. And let's figure out what that means, and let's zone for that. So that's my other big idea. Thank you.
I love that idea. A friend of mine actually works for this really interesting organization out in Western Mass that helps businesses convert to worker ownership, among other things. So that her whole job is actually helping businesses across the country to convert from not worker owned to worker owned. Karen, go ahead. Karen Gall.
Yes, I don't think that my hand was recognized before. Yes, the Karen Gall, yeah. And I certainly hope that you all can hear me clearly this time.
Yes.
My perspective on what we should be doing in regards to the comp plan is two things. One is I heard the conversation in regards to the Uptown Arts overlay, which was pretty much moved out of conversation because it really was really truly about going into the key components of the arts, dance schools, photography, filmmaking, music, writing, painting, sculpturing, and printmaking, so that we can have assembly halls, auditoriums, and public halls and other performing art spaces. That's the point of the arts overlay that was developed, and that's the sections 1908 and 1711 of the that was in regards to the arts and arts related usage. 1990 was a long time ago. Our area has changed since then. Most people don't really protect or are concerned about making sure that we have multifunctional arts usages in the area that was meant to really capture the culture of Washington, D.C., the cultural usage of certain neighborhoods here in Washington, D.C. So, but in that respect, I'm a development committee here for ANC 1B. I personally have been a really big proponent of making sure that we understand how public safety and economics is correlates, that we need parking. I have asked that we try to find if we can get the zoning for good parking garages. People in the area have, if they want to visit the area, they need parking. Parking is always, I think, is a platinum opportunity if we have all kinds of stuff. And as it was alluded to, all types of establishments that are not really community oriented, but parking is community oriented. And also some family oriented spaces. I think we really need to do more um, investment, intentional investment in some family oriented spaces so that we show that we're welcome to expand their family and family structures, because that way it will not lean always towards that 64% that Frank mentioned about only drinking establishment only. Family establishments have huge economic viability in these areas where it could tie into the uptown arts overlay, where I said that you can have these beautiful establishments that would lend itself to family fun activities. As you have skating rinks, you have nice arts, and they've done some creative things over in Southeast that I think we can public safety issues that we've been having, so that people can have more opportunities to really invest themselves into enjoying the life of the area with multiple things like painting, um, crafting, all kinds of things, a roller rink, karaoke, all types of things that you can do as a community, and it's fun, and people will definitely be drawn towards it. And then if you have a nice parking facility, that would definitely help. So those are the things that I think that we should try to see if we can aim towards, because they're economically viable, and then also we can look to ensure that the ANC is allotting space and looking to push space for those type of locations. Those are my add.
Thanks, Karen. I will add my own 2 cents. I love all of the things that you guys have mentioned. Especially Frank, I was actually gonna say the very same thing about assessing undervalued zoning, undervalued property that could have the potential to be upzoned meaningfully and provide a little bit more density. I think the one thing I want to add to that is I would like for the district to revisit how they treat vacant property, especially long-term vacant property. I think we are unfortunately on the precipice of somewhat of a development crunch, as it were. I think we've seen some evidence of this in the permits being pulled across the district, but I'm also seeing this at my own job, where there just is less development coming in. And so I think it would behoove the district to look through to its zoning to try and figure out if there's easy wins that we can implement in that regard that might account for the fact that in the next couple of years we're probably not going to have a lot of units of housing permitted at a time when the district is growing. So there's that. And then the other thing that I just wanted to make sure we have on our list is, and this might not be relevant to the comprehensive plan, but we had all of those conversations with DOB, and there were some specific things that I think came out of that. DOB, Department of Buildings, there are some specific things that came out of that that we have identified as places for improvement. And if we can make those improvements through the comprehensive plan, that would be something that I would want us to focus on as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I did a lot of Christian, I did a
yeah.
lot of ask in regards to the vacant and blighted properties. We did that a lot in the Economic and Development Committee. We really did a huge deep dive. We have Howard, who has been definitely representing us in the various meeting settings. But I'm definitely, I initiated that ask for this commission to focus
Amazing.
on the vacant and blighted areas that has been facilities have taken advantage of um, the taxing process of keeping their property vacant for such a long time that could be used for the various things that we're
Mm,
talking about. That whole, each one of those things, the offerings that I mentioned, could be used for those commercial buildings and fulfilled without it being sitting and emptied. And they could be, we could have been getting a huge economic boost in this area with things that businesses would be interested in utilizing. But then we also have to make sure that the property taxes aren't too high so that the businesses can afford to be a business in the area as well. So those are the things that I think that will draw people into the area, and we can be intentional about making sure that the area is well populated and profitable, and people really want to be here. Thank you.
awesome. Thanks, Karen. All right. Anyone else have anything to add about this? Okay. So my hope is that by the time we meet next, we'll have identified we'll have set up the task force, and I'll have things to report back to you on. The last thing I'll just say is that if you are interested in participating in the task force, I don't know, just for clarity, I don't know exactly how these things need to be structured per the bylaws of the commission, but I do believe that we can have committee members participating on the task force. And so if that's something that you're interested in, let me know. I think the task force are supposed to be time limited. And so my understanding is that they're around 1 to 3 months, depending on how we set them up. So it would not be a super big commitment, but it would be an additional meeting beyond or meetings beyond the regular ZPD meeting. So if that's something you're interested in, shoot me an email. And I will bring that to the conversation with Commissioner Fay. Frank, do you have a question?
No, I'm sorry. I'm adding to the list one more point.
Oh, yes.
Christian, you've been involved in the conversations and heard a presentation here, but regarding affordable dwelling units or ADU, accessory dwelling units, pardon me, regarding changing the setback requirements for structural adoption, easier adoption of an accessory dwelling unit, so we can add more folks, more density. Right. So
Fabulous.
I think that's an important component when you talk about row houses and what we can or can't do to add accessory dwelling units. And so I like that to be added to the list too.
Fabulous. I have added it. Thanks, Frank.
If
Oh, for Alex, I see.
I just want to add a point about that. Accessory dwelling units are only in the R zones, where the R1 zones mostly, where you're just allowed a single family house. The others, like RF1 and stuff, you can already have multiple units there. It's the ADUs really only apply to the R1 zone.
Got it. Alex, did you have something to?
Yeah, just really quickly, I'd love
Yeah.
the working group to think about like potentially contacting or working with Strong Towns, which is a nonprofit that has a bunch of local chapters that does a lot of and has a lot of experience around planning and revisiting planning to make thriving communities. And yeah, just want to suggest that we might be able to learn from others as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Okay, unless anyone has something else to add, I will move us on to the last item on our agenda. Okay, So this is, I'm going to share my screen because it is so this is a resolution that was written and adopted in Commission ANC 1D, a neighboring commission. And Chair Trinidad Duramo, suggested that we look at this and figure out whether or not this is something that we would like to suggest to our commissioners in 1B. But the resolution is in support of a bill in front of the council called Climatizing Our Overheated Living Spaces Regulation Amendment Act of 2025. It's quite the mouthful, but essentially it would basically revise the seasonal, you can see in the second paragraph, it would revise the seasonal dates during which housing providers must provide heating or air conditioning, where air conditioning is offered as a service. And then it would also establish, it would further establish minimum indoor and outdoor temperature standards for year-round and rental units where tenants control heating and cooling. So I gather from this proposal that the bill, and I have read the bill, but I won't necessarily go into super detail about it. But as in my understanding, the purpose of this or of something like this is to make sure that landlords are required legally to make sure that their units are habitable. Generally, in my experience, I've seen regulations about this specifically regarding heat. I think we all know that DC summers can be brutal, and so it's exciting, I think, from my perspective at least, to see that there's legislation that would include cooling. But generally, that seems to be the purpose of the bill, and this resolution is advocating for the adoption of the bill. So I'll leave it at that. If this is something that we're interested in, I'm happy to draft a version of this. If it's something that we have questions about, I'm happy to reach out to the council member's office to ask their staff to join us at our next meeting. But I wanted to just get us started here with a committee conversation to see if folks have questions or that they would like to have answered. Obviously, I can't answer them, or if there are other thoughts about it.
Is this something
Actually,
that we
do you
can
know what
review? I don't know. Did you send this as part of our packet?
I did, yes. I sent a link to the
Did you send this?
PDF. Yes, I sent a link, Karen, as a PDF, but then also I sent a link that goes to the text of the bill if you'd like to read that too. And I can send that again afterwards,
I
but it is in the
apologize. I didn't
agenda.
capture it.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, I
Um,
apologize.
but yes, you should have it in the agenda that I sent. So I'm happy to forward this again. But Joel.
First of all, I'm going to say I'm going to have to recuse myself because I'm a landlord. But from the architecture point, just keep in mind when they're talking about pushing the dates for starting heat back in the fall, weeks like last week, people would have been turning their heat on, and the new timelines
Indeed.
would not have you would have had to have your heat turned on. So just keep that in mind when you're considering this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think to your point,
Climate change.
yes, Karen. I was about to say the same thing. I think to your point, Joel, the climate is changing, and for instance, there was a few days last week where it was cold enough to have heat on. Yesterday or Sunday actually, warm enough to have the AC on. So an interesting. I'm not entirely sure. I can't recall exactly if the text of the bill sort of addresses that in any meaningful way. That sort of back and forth in any meaningful way, but
Well, I mean, they're mostly talking about larger buildings that have
right.
central heating things. The thing is, there's that 2 week to change over because you have this where one day it's air conditioning, one day it's heat. Because
Yeah.
in large buildings, once you turn one on, you just can't turn it off for a day and turn the other back on.
Yeah.
Like I haven't turned my heat on yet because I have a boiler system. And once you turn that on, you kind of leave it on.
Yeah.
So Joel, working at Howard University, managing a lot of buildings there, today was a perfect set example where my chief engineer and my other engineers literally had to go running through buildings and
They're
putting
probably going
chillers.
nuts.
It was a busy day, but I'll tell you that they treated him like he was the Lord when he came downstairs and the air was pumping back in the building. So when you have chillers and other cool towers that might have been cleaned already prepped, even though October 15th is the universal date, we've actually even at Howard pushed it to right now. October 28th. We're just like watching it constantly because of as what Chairwoman Gallo said and Chris with the different time and the temperatures. I've noticed it in 29 years working in Manhattan and DC. Originally, it was always April 15th was the turnover for air conditioning and October 15th turnover for heat. Times they are a changing. So today, for example, the last couple of days we had heat on, and in the last day and a half, we've now had air conditioning on. Tomorrow, who knows? So we're being as prepared as we can. But the truth is that is what it is happening, and it is happening to a lot of large buildings because mine are residential type buildings as well.
Yeah.
I have an add-in for medically fragile people, whether they're aging in place, or whether they are hormonally challenged, where heating too much heat or too much air would be issue. I mean, it's kind of a really difficult position to put people in, where they have no control over the regulation happens in this day and age. Is there some type of way that these systems can be set where people who do have these medical challenges would be able to have a little bit more control? Is that something that's possible?
Hmm.
And I'm asking that architecturally, Joel.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Joel, I'm going to say that in my time, it's not unless you really upgrade your systems to have the ability to cool and chill. I mean, cool and heat. A lot of the buildings, especially the older integrity buildings, a lot of buildings in DC aren't like that. Joel, please add whatever you think, but I've never had anything I worked on in my 29 years
I,
that did well.
you know
What
what,
I was gonna,
Commissioner
Karen,
Kinzick,
or what I
Commissioner
was gonna,
Kinzick, you are an expert, and I apologize. I didn't call on you too.
yeah, what I was gonna say is, Karen, anything is possible. It's what you're willing to pay, and that's kind of what it is. Technically,
That's
you can do it.
Yeah, that's the
Is it
short version. I
financially
love it.
viable?
Yes.
Is it technically or financially viable is the other issue.
Yes, sir.
That's
That's
a
right.
I really appreciate that point, Karen, because I will do a little bit of a closer read of this and maybe what makes sense. It seems like well, I'll do a closer read of this to investigate that, because obviously we don't want this to cause landlords to force the heat, like during the winter, for instance, to force the heat to be on a temperature that's too high. I don't know why they would do that, but who knows? I mean, whatever.
Just
But
understand that it's hard for them, like especially in these older buildings.
yeah,
When I worked in Alliance Bernstein in Manhattan, it's a trade center. You work at trade, one person's hot, the person right next to him's cold. Next person's hot, next person's cold. And you can't do anything about it. It's the supply and how it comes out and how they're all sitting chair by chair in a row. But as they're
right.
talking more residential, there are things that can be done. I mean, like I know what we've done just to help things when it gets really cold out, but certain people have certain sensitivity with heating, as we put in manual like window air units, which I hate doing, but like not the actual window shakers, but they look a little cleaner, and that's kind of, but it's a band-aid. It's nothing that really fixes it. It's very hard, like when you're dealing with boilers, to be able to just shut them down. It takes many hours for the temperature to cool down. It's a process, so it would definitely be a little bit of a challenge. And to Joel's point earlier, it's like you're going to pay what you're going to get for. So it just depends on the infrastructure of the building as well, how new, how old, all that good stuff.
Hmm. Okay, so I think maybe what would make sense is, because it sounds like there is some appetite in discussing this. So I think maybe what it makes sense is, what I'm happy to do is to draft our own resolution of this, but I also think it would be helpful to have the staff person from either our council member's office or the original proposer. I don't remember who that is off the top of my head, but or the original proposer of the bill to join us at our next commission meeting so that we can hear from them what those their perspective about what the purpose of the bill is. And then we can make any changes to the resolution at that meeting as necessary. Does that sound good to folks? And as I'm writing that, Karen, I can definitely make an effort to incorporate those two items that you mentioned. If I can figure out a way to sort of do that makes sense, which it might take a little bit of brain space on my part, but I'm happy to do that. And I can also send it to you in advance if you'd like to look.
The two key points, Christian, would be medically, we have a medically fragile aging in place community, and considering that I think that may flag that particular issue, as Commissioner Kinsick mentioned, they're heat and cold sensitive. So I think that if you just use those four components, I think that would be able to fill in the blank where
Cool.
for the issue that I mentioned.
Awesome.
Christian, I like to say that I think it's a great idea. I would prefer not to look at a resolution regarding a bill unless the drafters are before us, because it's only right that if we're supporting somebody's endeavor, that we should be able to ask the person who thinks it's in our best interest to support this, that they answer some questions for us. So,
okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, Frank. I will make an effort to get the proposers of the bill at our next and I have this came before me in August and we didn't have enough time to just I didn't get my act together enough to put it on the agenda last time, so we're putting it on the agenda here. So I just also should double check. It hasn't been voted on yet, but I'll just confirm that it hasn't before we spend extra effort on this. But definitely agree, if we are going to be doing considering a resolution about this, it would be helpful to hear from the proposer. So I'll make an effort to get the staff from that council member's office at our next meeting. And I'll work on a resolution anyway. And then if they can't come next meeting, they can come in 2 meetings. We can consider it then. Does that sound good to you, Frank?
Beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome.
I
okay.
agree.
Yeah.
I think that the Christian, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
I can. Yes.
I was also I think that the suggestions that came in from the committee are really strong enough for you to write a resolution from ANC 1B as well. So the Commissioner Kinsick and Joel, everything from the point of views from the landlords, those who control it, as well as the point of view from the community, I think that would be really good, strong points to add to the resolution. So I'm looking for.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. Okay, are there any other comments from folks or questions? All right, I'm hearing none. I think we can move on to new business, which I do not have any. Does anyone else have new business? Okay. Seeing no hands raised for new business, that brings us to the very end of our agenda. And so I believe that we can adjourn for today. Thanks everybody for joining us, and welcome, Devin. Thank you for joining us for your first committee meeting. Hopefully many more.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks all. Have
Good
a good
night.
rest of your night.
Thanks.